welcome to our final pitch. We're going to be talking about our learning platform called Do It Yourself. So just to kick things off, a little roadmap to show us what's to come. First, we're going to be talking about the problem and then lead into the solution and the product. And then we're going to talk about our competition. From there, we will discuss the tests that we ran to validate our hypothesis. And then from there, we'll talk about our financial projections and move to the ask. And then we'll wrap things up by talking about our usage of the funds and the future of the company.
So when something breaks in your house, our most common response is to go on the internet and look up a walkthrough or a video about how to solve it. But a lot of the problems come that the people hosting the videos, you don't know them from Adam. You don't know if they're actual professionals or if they're licensed by the government. And our product, Do It Yourself, web-based video series, would provide professional and verified resources for the DIYers.
If you click the link in the center of the slide, the wireframe website for Do It Yourself will appear. The website is a more simplified version, but encompasses the general principles. You have the home page, an immediate offer for subscription, a video, and the contact form. For the official website, we will have additional video and content, including profiles for certified professionals, all of which is unavailable to the public.
So for competition, arguably our biggest competition is YouTube. Other ones include HGTV and This Old House. But what makes Do It Yourself different is that we have actual certified professionals, and we cover a wide variety of problems. For example, This Old House covers household issues from how to install new flooring and how to install a toilet. But our series would also cover that sort of thing, but also if you want to know how to trim your hair or trim your bangs, we would also cover that. And our videos would be commercial free.
All right, so to introduce this testing section of the presentation, I want to set the stage and talk about an interview that we were able to conduct with Gary Eimerman, who is the VP of course production at Pluralsight. So when we talked to Gary, he gave us, he talked about three different areas: the cost structure for something like this, best practices, and then ways that we could test the product in the marketplace. So beginning with the cost structure, and we have this built into our final forecast that Ty will discuss later, but at a bird's eye view, he said that we're going to be incurring costs from infrastructure, expert salaries, platform development, video encoding, curriculum management, a video asset template for branding, video equipment if we are planning to do the recordings ourselves as opposed to experts filming it from their own personal studio. Moving forward to best practices. So the key takeaway that Gary left us in terms of best practices for this type of platform would be to consider royalties as a form of compensation for experts. So he said that a good price for a platform like this would be $50 to $100 per clip, and then include a 25% royalty fee based on how many views each video receives. So then moving into testing, Gary said that we would need to seek to understand the number of moments of need that customers have that would essentially be solved by this platform. So he also said that this would help us to understand the revenue model that we end up using, which in this case will be a subscription model. And Gary said that was always ideal. And if we do go with the subscription model, it would require that we implement a tremendous amount of content creation, which shouldn't be too difficult for this type of learning solution. And Gary agreed with that. Additionally, he said that we should start with a high subscription cost and then decrease as needed. He said that one person paying $10 a month is better than 8 people paying $1 a month. And then finally, he left us with the idea of customer perception, where people view premium price as greater quality, and that's really what we're offering is greater quality. And I guess funny to note, the very last thing that he left with us was he asked if we had read The Lean Startup. and told us to use the build, measure, learn concepts in this testing. So I'll pass it on to Ty to talk about how we implemented this testing.
So especially that last part that Colton was talked about, we took a lot of those things that Gary recommended, and we brought those to interviews with what would be potential customers. And we wanted to identify customer demand and a price point that they would be willing to pay. So we had about 10 or 12 questions that we brought to the table with over 20 people that we interviewed. And we really just kind of engaged in a dialogue. And some of the things that we learned, because we were able to bring them our prototype and allow them to kind of use it and kind of feel for it. And some of the things that we learned was most people answered that they might use something like this 2 to 5 times during the year. But as we engaged in dialogue and said, hey, but this would also maybe include music lessons or your first time water skiing or anything like that, they said, yeah, more and more things surfaced and said, yeah, I could see myself using that more and more. They did say they'd be willing to pay for a more premium service, but it would have to be something they used more often and visited maybe more often than say YouTube. So one of the key things I think we took away from these customer insights was we're able to see that maybe a subscription model right off the bat wouldn't necessarily bring us enough revenue. So we'd want to introduce some sort of sponsor where we could also get, not necessarily from advertising because we don't want to advertise like YouTube does, but in a way that retailers can partner with us to give links to the project, the supplies they would need for their specific project.
So to test it further, we reached out to a local YouTube artist, and then we asked him to look at our platform, and obviously we had like a minimum. He had to have 10,000 plus subscribers on his channel just to make sure he's legitimate. And we had him compare and contrast YouTube, and we also had him introduce us to 9 other YouTubers on different platforms. And this was what we took away from that is that they didn't really like YouTube. They thought it was good, but they need a lot of improvement. They didn't like it because they weren't really the focus, whereas on ours, they would be like the focus, them doing what they're doing. With our platform, they would get more quality videos to their targeted audience. So with that, they could generate more revenue and help us as they make their videos. And one thing they really pointed out was the quality that we had versus like on YouTube, anybody can make a video, but that's one of the biggest things that we took away is to keep pushing for like quality and making our videos the best for the people, the YouTubers, and them.
Okay, so let's look at the money. Here we have a pro forma set out for the next 3 years of what we projected our revenue and our expenses. You can kind of see the line items that we estimated for expenses. We expect to break even and be profitable in year 3. Our initial investment, we see it at right around $28,000 to get something tangible set up, and year 1 costs about $75,000. So we are seeking $85,000, and we would put that money towards getting things off the ground as platform development, building our website, something that's very nicely done and looks professional, advertising, get our name out there, and then also video editing. This is key because right off the bat, we want our videos to be consistent, something people can trust, something of very, very high quality. And as you can see, even with $85,000 at the end of the first year, that doesn't go past our loss that we would take that year, but it would get us enough to get ground running, enough to where we can prove that this is something that is sustainable long term.
So looking forward, we definitely have our work cut out for us. We do not want to be just another YouTube clone. We want to differentiate ourselves, and we want to identify which segments of customers to build our platform around, where we want to pivot. So, we still have a lot of validated learning to go forward. We may want to look into being acquired by some other company. Another video platform was Vine. They got acquired by Twitter, made a lot of money off of that. They were definitely different from YouTube, even though they supplied videos. Like Ty said, we have a 3-year plan. During that 3 years before we become profitable, we're going to work on building infrastructure. We're going to look at getting content creators, and then just getting more and more users so that eventually we can get more corporate sponsors and grow that way.